hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
So I guess I'm gonna jump in on the TikTok thing about inflation right now, because I'm not quite entire. I don't know what to do. It's hard for me to even formulate words right now, just thinking about life. I'm not entirely sure what to do. I work for a really good company, and I still have to have a second job. And if I'm not careful, potentially a third. Now, I'm not entirely sure how the third's going to fit in here, but I got to make it work somehow. Some type of side hustle. I'm not sure, but it's crazy. And I don't know how anyone else is surviving out here. I don't know how everyone else is making life work right now. I'm not sure how anyone's out here grocery shopping. I'm not sure how. I just don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what we need to do as a collective, as a people. I'm not sure what we can do, but I just know something. Something needs to be done. Something has got to give. Grocery shopping is probably the worst errand I have to run, because everything is just astronomically expensive. Everything. Like, I've cut out subscriptions. I don't eat out. And just as soon as I get my paycheck, once bills are paid, it's a wrap. It's done. I have nothing left. And I think I've cried all of the tears I could cry, at least for this week. I'm not sure anymore, guys. I truly have no idea how we are surviving. And the thing is, you can't even just say, oh, I'm gonna leave the country, because where are you gonna go that you also can afford to? Because everybody, literally everybody, is going through this bullshit. Everyone. Can't go to Canada, can't go to the UK. Everyone is dealing with just not being able to sustain life. And it's really sad. I wish everyone out there the best. I'm here in good old Tennessee, going through the same shit you guys are. It sucks.
$100,000 is the amount of money that Americans in 2023 are living paycheck to paycheck on, with zero kids. And this is all because as recently as the 1980s, the median salary in the United States was $21,000. And that would be brought in by a single earner. And at that same time, a 4-year degree would set you back 10 grand. And at that same time, the median price of a home in the United States was only $47,000. And that means that boomers had the option to work summers to pay for college as they were going. They could graduate without any debt, and then they could just work 5 to 6 months of their real job as an adult to come up with the 20% down payment required to buy a home. 10 grand is all they needed to do that. But we flash forward 40 years, and thanks to inflation and appreciation, those homes are now worth $500,000. And it's almost impossible for younger generations to buy them, because in 2023, the median annual income for a single earner is $70,000. We've essentially doubled wages. But in that same time, a 4-year college degree has multiplied by 10x. You're looking at spending a full 100 grand on a 4-year college degree for out-of-state tuition. On top of that, with homes being $500,000 to start, to get a degree and a home today, you'd have to live in your parents' basement rent-free and work your ass off for 3 straight years just to pay off your college debt, have a down payment for your home, all without any dependents or a partner. And that's if you didn't put a single penny towards things like food, gas, insurance, healthcare, your car payment, or your stupid fur babies that you think are your actual children.
Oh yes, I love you too, but if times get hard, I know you're gonna make a delicious, delicious soup. I'll do it.
And all of this has happened because of inflation, which has reduced the value of our dollars over 95% in the last 100 years. Because back then, this stack of $100,000 would have actually had purchasing power of $1.8 million today. Which means by saving your money in today's environment, you're actually losing it. And the reason this has happened is because our government prints money to subsidize the pharmaceutical industrial complex, the military industrial complex, and other big corporate organizations and entities. They get subsidized by taxpayer dollars that are printed into existence, and the value of the money that's being held and saved by the American people just gets inflated away. And those giant corporations use the money to pay their CEOs big bonuses and figure out ways how to deliver less value and charge even more money. And this has been going on for a few decades, and it's completely carved out the middle class in the West. And the Western world is at its breaking point. Right now in the United States, gas on average is around $4 a gallon. Breakfast for 4 at McDonald's, which used to be an affordable option, costs as much as a weekly budget for a week's worth of food for a typical American home. But things are even crazier than what we see on the surface, because even though things cost more today, you get way less for your money. And here is an example. This Hot Wheel costs $1.25. If you go buy one right now, you'll see similar prices.
So just the price of toys in general have gotten crazy. $6.99 for this car right there. Do you remember when you got like a big toy for like $10? Look at this.
But in the 80s, that same car only cost 94 cents. And this price difference represents roughly a 25% increase in price over 40 years. And you might not think that that's too bad, but there's something going on that you're not aware of. The materials going into today's Hot Wheels cars are not even comparable to what they used to be made out of. The 80s Hot Wheels cars are made out of die-cast metal. Today's use a little bit of metal and mostly plastic. This is much higher quality. It's built to last. It feels heavier. It's more enjoyable of an experience to play with if you're into that sort of thing. And this is not. This is going to break much sooner than this will. Now you can still buy these, the fully die-cast metal Hot Wheels cars at the store, but if you want to buy them like they used to be made, that car is going to cost you $2.97, which is an increase of 215% in just 40 years. Wages have not kept up with that. And in 2023, with the middle class at its breaking point, corporations are pushing harder to increase prices while driving down the value that they're actually delivering for the money they're asking you to give them for their product. This is called shrinkflation, and that's being layered on top of actual inflation caused by economic policies by our government. Governments all over the world, in fact, are printing money like it's their only pleasure in life. And this is why your money isn't going as far as it used to, which is why
$1 million 1993 today is now $2,070,000. Inflation in 5 years will probably devalue half of everyone's money listening to this in their 401ks, IRAs, and their soft saving accounts. Like right now, the world is a wreck, and their only solution to the devaluation is they're going to have to work harder. Over the last 20 years, 2002 to 2022, salaries have increased 27%, but the cost of a home has gone up 148%. In other words, like our cost of living and lifestyles is not keeping up. Average person drives a $60,000 a year car that has a $50,000 a year salary with over $100,000 of student debt, 60% of America living check to check. We have a problem. And being busy is not the solution, and getting another job is not the solution. You have to graduate and develop more of the Gen Z millennial mind that says there's got to be a smarter way. It can't be the immigrant way of just work harder, because there is something to say for hard work. But if it's not smart enough hard work, then it's stupid work. It's dumb work. And there's a lot of financial idiots out there that have just not gotten themselves educated.
One of the most frustrating parts about being a young person today is that we see the ways that things could be better, right? Like, wouldn't it be great if my landlord wasn't legally allowed to raise my rent 20% one year and then do it again the next year? Wouldn't it be great to have a 4-day work week or even like a 6-hour work day? Wouldn't it be great to have more public transit systems so we wouldn't have to rely so heavily on cars all the time? But whenever we say these things, people in power and the older generations are like, you know, that's going to cost money, right? You don't think we're paying for this already? It's just so infuriating that it costs so much to just exist. And none of us really even asked to be here, right? And we have solutions. Like, the solutions are out there, and they may not solve everything, but they would make it better. And the people who are supposedly supposed to represent us are like, oh yeah, you have a little idea? Oh, that's cute. Sorry, I have a luncheon to go to. Like, okay, guess we're screwed then, thanks. And I know that America is objectively not the worst place in the world to be, right? But I don't see how wanting better has become like a hot topic. Like, why is it such a divisive thing? Like, this resistance to like things that are very obviously going to help everybody is just so frustrating, because like, why? I feel like people forget that we are where we are right now, like in terms of equality and society, because people chose to make such a stink. Like, maybe we should listen to the people. Just a thought.
I think they've been lying to us about inflation for like 40, 50 years now. I saw this headline in the New York Times. Inflation is declining. but here's why your groceries are still so expensive. And I'm like, yeah, they are telling us inflation is going down. The number that the media reports when they talk inflation is typically this measure, the Consumer Price Index. And it's compiled by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And it looks like it's been going down. I don't know, but I'm still feeling some of that inflation. Maybe you are too. So I did some digging. Turns out the government has a few resources at its disposal to manipulate the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. You don't say. You see, at first, the CPI was determined by a fixed basket of goods and services spanning 2 different time periods. But now, the new methodology takes into account changes in the quality of goods and substitution, meaning that the items in a basket of goods can actually change from year to year. For example, let's say the price of steak went up 10% over the last year. Now, instead of taking that into account, they could actually change out the steak for a much cheaper item, say ground beef, and call it a substitution. Now, do we get a say in those changes? Do we even know what changes they're making? Nope. The Bureau of Labor Statistics operates under a veil of secrecy. The raw data used to calculate the CPI is not available to the public. You mean to tell me that there's no way for us to audit this very important measure that the Fed uses to determine monetary policy? Nope, I don't think so. I guess that tracks. This following passage is from Forbes magazine. Over the past 30 years, the government has changed the way it calculates inflation more than 20 times. These methodological improvements to the CPI are said to give a more accurate measure of consumer prices. However, the changes could also be a convenient way to include or exclude certain products that give favorable low results, but there's no way to know given the lack of transparency. I don't know, am I out of bounds for thinking that based on that information, inflation can literally be whatever they want it to be?
Fish just went from 30 ounces to 27 ounces and it's still $10. Pure Leaf Iced Tea went from 18.5 ounces to 16.9 ounces. This pizza sauce went from 440 grams to 400 grams. We're seeing this a lot in pasta too. This linguine went from 900 grams to 750 grams. This hot sauce went from 1,000 grams to 970 grams. And another hot sauce going from 650 milliliters to 550 milliliters. This one was sad because I feel like they're using less quality material. Q-tips going from 0.5 grams down to 0.4 grams. Tide laundry detergent went from 154 fluid ounces to 146 fluid ounces. Dove already did this with their bars of soap, but their body wash is going from 34 ounces down to 30.7 ounces. Takis Fiesta sides went from 20 ounces down to 17 ounces. That's approximately 36 less Takis. These coffee crackers went from 45 grams to 39 grams. And yeah, they forgot to change the label. Pure gum took a massive hit from 72 pieces down to 55 pieces, and these are the same exact price. And our beloved Bounty paper towels have gone from 92 sheets to 91 sheets, and they're currently at 86 sheets.
Shrinkflation time. This is how Sobeys is hosing me this week. Never mind that this veggie tray, which was, $7.99, then $9.99, now it's $12.99. It's fucking ridiculous. This is about the ranch dip that accompanies my veggie tray, which, is deceivingly small for this big hole that the ranch dip fits in, whereas just last week, the ranch dip was this big. In 1 week, we get less than half as much. Notice how it fits in the cavity to give you the illusion that you're getting the same dip, but you're getting half as much. Thanks a lot, Sobeys.
Okay, so this is a little message for the government. Not that you probably care, but if you do, this is a message for you. I just went to fill up my car, and it cost me $102. Okay, that's a sick joke. Considering my car used to be $80, like, how did we get to this? Like, $102, you've just, cost me about 5 cups of coffee that I now won't buy because I had to put extra in my fucking car for fuel this week. I basically feel like I would really like to know what you guys all earn and what exactly you fucking do to earn that kind of money, because I can sit down and tell you what I do at work, and I work really, really fucking hard, but I've got to live week to week because the inflation right now is kicking me in the ass. I don't exactly know what you guys do because it never seems to be anything that you promise when you're fucking getting elected to be in the government. But anyway, but that's besides the point of this video. You all basically get paid to break fucking promises, I think. But anyway, back to the point. Just have a bit of a questionnaire for you, if you could take the time to answer these couple of questions. What do you actually think the average income for the everyday Australian is? Let me tell you, you probably fucking
quadruple what the rest of us make. But at the moment, the average cost of rent is well and truly over $600, right? That I'm telling you, that's more than half a weekly income there. I just put $100 in my car for fuel. So that's about $700 a week just in fuel and petrol for most of us. And then, believe it or not, we do have to eat. So with the fucking cost of groceries at the moment too, if you're lucky, you can get maybe 2 bags at the shops for about $300 these days. So that we're at about $900 there, sir, and we haven't paid a single fucking bill yet. Now let me tell you, in case you didn't know, most people don't even earn $900 a week. Okay, and you're particularly fucked if you're on a single income like myself. Because, yeah, you're down $900 and you've done 3 things. You haven't paid a bill yet. Energy Australia, I do apologise. I'm about $200 behind in an electricity bill at the moment. But I can't really fucking help that one. Sorry. I think my Optus bill is about $120 behind. And before anyone thinks they can beat me to it, I don't pay for my lashes or anything like that. So please don't tell me to cut back on the luxuries, because I've cut back, well, pretty much as the best I fucking can, really. Again, besides the point, I just have to throw that in there because there's always someone that's like, oh, but you've got lashes. Well, I don't pay for them, so try again, troll. Back to the government. Basically just put $100 in my car so I can get to work so that you guys can pay me to pay rent in a house that I pretty much visit because I never get to be at the house because I've got to work so much just to afford the petrol, to pay for the petrol to get to work, to pay for the fucking house that I don't live in that I visit so that I can work. Do you get what I'm saying? Basically, I pay for petrol to go to work, to pay for the house that I get to visit because I'm always at work.
Finally figured out why us millennials are so upset with inflation and the cost of housing. The obvious is that it's a struggle, but we grew up in the 1980s and 1990s, and we got to see the most flourishing middle class ever. Our parents were all middle class, working amazing jobs. Maybe just one parent was working. We had Christmases and Little League and vacation. And some of my friends' parents, they had like 2-3 cars, jet skis, 4-wheelers, a house on the lake. And they were making like $85,000. And I remember in my mind, just like probably all of you other millennials, we're like, man, if we can make 75 or 80 or 100 grand one day, we're going to be balling, have 3 kids, have jet skis and all these toys, invest, go on vacation. Now reality sits in. We're in our 30s. People are making 70, 80, 90, $100,000, $150,000 in some locations and going, we can barely get groceries. We can't afford a house like this. The middle class isn't diminishing. The middle class is gone. And I think that is what the shock is to the millennials, because we grew up watching the greatest middle class of all time. And now we're the age of our parents that they were in the 80s and 90s. And it's just night and day.
We are living in the silent depression, and I'm going to explain what I mean. During the Great Depression, 48% of people ages 25 to 29 lived at home with their parents. Nowadays, it's over 52%. If you take the worst year of the Great Depression in the 1930s, 1930 specifically, they made about $88,000 a year adjusted for inflation on average. One person, not a household, one person. Today, that's in between about $35,000 and $45,000 per head wherever you look across the country. New cars are unaffordable. New houses are unaffordable. To move to a new place and rent somewhere else is unaffordable. It's terrible what's going on right now. And to cap all of this off, I don't think anyone, for the most part, is really thinking about the fact that in 2020, 45% of the market just came crashing down in 1 month. There was a 45% drop in 1 month, the quickest fall that we've ever seen in United States history. And then it went back up and people have stopped thinking about it. Well, I'll tell you, I haven't. I think something big may be on the horizon because normal people in this country are fucking struggling. And at the end of the day, normal people are what this country's backbone is built out of. If you crush the back, the country's back will be broken and the rest of the body will be functionally useless.
I heard a new term on TikTok today that made me stop in my tracks.
We are living in the silent depression.
This guy believes we are not just living in worse than the Great Depression, we're living in the silent depression. The average annual income in 1930 for an American individual was a little over $4,800. Sounds like nothing, but if you adjust that for inflation, a little over $4,800 a year in 1930 is equivalent to almost $85,000 annually for the average salary for one person. Right now, the average average annual salary is $56,000 a year. We currently are making less than the height of the Great Depression. In 1930, gas was on average 10 cents a gallon. That would be about $1.73. In case you haven't filled up your car lately, average cost of a gallon of gas is $3.55. To buy a new car in 1930 would have been about $860. It's worth about 15 grand. The average cost of a new car today is $48,000. And of course, the most coveted aspect of the American dream, being able to buy a house in 1930 cost about $3,900, less than $70,000. I spend way too much time on Zillow, so maybe this isn't surprising to me, but the average price of a home in America today is $416,000. How could we be living through worse cost of living and wages than 1930? And no politician, no media outlet, no one is talking about it.
That's Bidenomics. It's about growing an economy by strengthening the middle class.
Hi, yeah, good morning. Just checking in. My millennial families, especially the ones with kids, are you okay? Are you okay? You're not okay. I know you're not okay because I'm about to do a 3-minute rant, okay? Bear with me on this one. We're drowning. We're drowning. We're never going to make it. This generation is never going to make it, okay? I just watched 5 TikToks in a row. I swear to you, 5 TikToks about how our country is in the greatest depression it's ever been in, and they're calling it the silent depression because we are all just silently drowning. Okay? Let me give you some examples. I'm going to be real transparent here, okay? When I first moved out, I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. $850 a month, utilities included. Fast forward to now, I have 4 kids of my own and a bonus son. We have 5 kids altogether. When we started applying for apartments, most wanted you to pay $300, $400, $500 to even apply for the apartment, to reject you and then tell you, we don't give you that money back. Awesome. So then we did find somewhere that approved us. Okay, 2nd floor of a house, no central air. We had to buy 4 AC units when we moved in here. Okay, 2 bedrooms and a loft. Some places wouldn't even rent to us because they said you have too many kids and you need a bigger space. We can't afford a bigger space, okay? We pay $1,600 a month. Again, 2nd floor of a house, no central air, 2 bedrooms and a loft. $1,600. Groceries, food, a basic human need. I get $569 a month in food stamps. Very grateful for that. It's a huge help. But I still have to go to 2 food pantries a week to be able to feed my family. Not to mention, I didn't even get them this month because I did everything I was supposed to for my recertification. They messed up on their end. I didn't get them. So now it's the waiting game. You get them back when we figure it out. That's what I was told at social services the other day. So we decided to go to Dollar General right down the street, the dollar store. Get us some necessities, get us through until we get my food stamps back. 5 bags of groceries, $110. The only meat I got was 1 roll of ground beef. Childcare. I'm getting ready to go back to work. Why? Because we're never going to make it if I don't. But almost 3/4 of my income is going to go to childcare. I have a 4-month-old baby. I can't be a stay-at-home mom anymore. It's impossible. It is impossible to be a stay-at-home mom in this economy. They told us to get educated. I have an associate's degree. I just applied to go back and get my bachelor's. Credit hours are over $300 now. That's triple what I paid for my associates. We are never going to be able to buy a house in this economy. The American dream that we lived with our parents that had one parent working, mom stayed home, they had multiple vehicles, 4-wheelers, we went on vacations, all that, that's gone. They were the wealthiest middle-class generation that probably this country's ever seen. They climbed up the ladder and pulled it right up behind them. I'm frustrated. And I know you are too. Good luck.
I saw this TikTok the other day about how we all feel broke. And they were saying that during the Great Depression, the average American was making $4,300 a year, which is the equivalent of like $95,000 by today's standard. So I had to go look that up. I had to do my own research. And this is what I found. So I found this list of the cost of things in 1938, which is at the very end of the Great Depression, okay? So you can see the list. Now I'm going to tell you what that actually amounts to in today's numbers. So the wage for 1 year in 1938 was averaging $1,731, which is the equivalent in today's standard of $37,193. So that was where I was having a big disbelief, was in the amount of wages that they made in the Great Depression versus today. because I make more than that. But it's saying that the national average is $63,400 for today. Now, while I can buy that $37,000 is not a lot of money by today's standard, here's where the real kicker is. In the Great Depression, a house cost $3,900. That amounts to an inflation rate of $83,000, where in actuality, houses are averaging over $420,000. Yeah, that's why we feel broke. Oh, but it gets even worse, because cars in the Great Depression cost $860, which amounts to about $18,000. But in actuality, cars are going for over $40,000 now. Here's the big one. $420 a year for tuition at Harvard, which should be $9,024. Now that's about what an average college costs these days. Harvard today is $54,000 a year. So during the Great Depression, they had to spend 2.25 times their salary in order to get a house. And by today's standards, you have to spend almost 7 times your salary to get a house. A car costs less than half of their salary, whereas by today's standards, you are spending almost your whole salary for a year buying a car. I was basing all of those numbers off of people who make $63,000 a year, which does not include me, which is why I and so many of my friends feel broke.